Hey guys, how's it going? I'm Chio. So today I want to tell you a story about something sitting right on top of your shoulders, something you're using at this exact second to understand these words your brain. And there's this idea about it that you've probably heard 100 times that you only use 10% of it, and that somewhere locked away is a sleeping 90% just waiting to turn you into a genius. It's a beautiful idea. It's also completely made up. But here's the part that kept me up last night. The real answer to what if you used 100% of your brain is so much stranger than the myth. So stay with me here, because this one goes places. Let's start with the fantasy. You've seen it. There's a movie called Lucy from 2014 where Scarlett Johansson takes a mystery drug and slowly unlocks more and more of her brain 10%, 20, 40. And as she does, she starts reading minds, moving objects, controlling other people, bending time itself. And there's Morgan Freeman playing a very serious scientist telling a lecture hall that humans only use 10% of their cerebral capacity. He says it so calmly, so confidently. And you believe him because he's Morgan Freeman. But that number, 10%, nobody knows where it actually came from. And I mean nobody. People have tried to trace it. Some blame a misquote of Albert Einstein, though there's zero evidence he ever said it. Some blame the psychologist William James, who wrote back around 1907 that most of us don't live up to our full mental potential, which is a lovely motivational thing to say, but notice what happened. You're not living up to your potential is a message about effort. Somewhere along the way, it got twisted into 90% of your brain is physically switched off. Those are not the same sentence, not even close. One is a pep talk, the other is a fairy tale. And the fairy tale spread because self-help books loved it. Ad campaigns loved it. It's flattering, right? It means you're not lazy or stuck. You're just locked. There's a hidden you in there, and all you need is the key. Who doesn't want to believe that? So here's where it gets weird. Let me introduce you to a man named Barry Beyerstein. Beyerstein was a neuroscientist at Simon Fraser University in Canada, and he spent years hunting this myth down like a detective. And what he found is that the 10% claim doesn't survive even 5 minutes of real science. Think about it this way. Your brain is a hog. It's about 2% of your body weight, but it burns roughly 20% of your energy, 20%, every day, just sitting there. Now ask yourself, if 90% of your brain were dead weight, doing nothing, why would evolution keep paying that enormous energy bill? Evolution is brutally cheap. It does not fund departments that produce nothing. If most of your brain were useless, natural selection would have shrunk it down generations ago, and you'd have a smaller head and a bigger appetite for staying alive. The fact that you're carrying around this expensive, hungry organ is proof that all of it is earning its keep. But it gets better. Because we can actually look, we have brain scanners now. fMRI, PET scans. Machines that light up the parts of your brain that are working. And here's the thing the myth never wants you to know. Scientists have watched brains do all kinds of tasks, and over the course of a day, virtually every region lights up. Not 10%, all of it. There is no dark, silent, unused continent in your skull waiting to be colonized. Even when you're doing something tiny, wiggling a finger, remembering a face, huge networks fire up across the whole organ. And what about when you do nothing at all? That's where a scientist named Marcus Raichle comes in, and honestly, this is my favorite part. Raichle at Washington University was studying brains at rest, people just lying in the scanner thinking about nothing in particular, and the old assumption was, okay, a resting brain should go quiet, right? But it didn't. Raichle discovered that when you stop focusing on a task and let your mind wander, a whole network switches on. He called it the default mode network. It's the machinery of daydreaming, of remembering your past, of imagining your future, of thinking about other people. Your brain is never off. When you think you're doing nothing, it's actually running some of its most complex programs. Your idle brain is busier than most machines at full throttle. So let that sink in. The 90% you supposedly aren't using, you're using it to be you, to have a self, to wonder what your friend meant by that text, to replay an embarrassing moment from 10 years ago at 2 in the morning. That's not wasted capacity. That's the whole show. There's more proof, and this one's a little dark, so brace yourself. Doctors have known for over a century what happens when parts of the brain are damaged: a stroke, a tumor, an injury. And here's the pattern: there is almost no spot in your brain you can damage without losing something. A tiny bit of tissue the size of a pea can take away your ability to speak, to recognize faces, to feel one side of your body, to control your temper. If 90% of your brain were just filler, then surgeons should be able to remove huge chunks with no effect at all. But that's not how it works. Every neighborhood in there matters, damage almost anywhere, and something goes dark in your life. Even go back to the old experiments. A researcher named Karl Lashley, back in the early 20th century, cut into the brains of rats to find where memory lived. He was trying to find the one spot. And what he found instead was that damage anywhere degraded performance. The brain works as a whole, a team, not a single hero with a bunch of unemployed backups. So now we come back to the big question, the one the whole story is built on. What if you actually used 100% of your brain? And here's the twist: you already do. Not all at once in the movie sense, because that's not how the brain works, and honestly, thank goodness. But over the course of a normal day, walking, talking, feeling, remembering, worrying, laughing, you light up all of it. There is no locked 90%. There is no secret vault. You've been running the full machine your whole life. And you know what? If you did fire 100% of your neurons all at the same instant, the way the movie imagines, that's not superpowers. That has a name. It's called a seizure. When too many neurons fire together in a runaway wave, your body doesn't gain telekinesis. It convulses. So the fantasy of unlocking everything at once isn't a gift. It's a medical emergency. The brain's real genius isn't in using everything at once. It's in using exactly the right parts at exactly the right time, and keeping the rest quiet. Restraint is the superpower. Selectivity is the magic. A neuroscientist named Sandra Aamodt put it beautifully. She pointed out that the brain is an efficiency machine. It doesn't want to run at full blast because that would be a catastrophic waste of energy, and it would drown you in noise. Imagine if every thought, every memory, every sensation screamed at full volume all the time. You couldn't function. You couldn't even finish this sentence. Your brain's quietness, its ability to keep most neurons resting until they're needed, is not a flaw. It's the most sophisticated feature you own. So why does the 10% myth refuse to die? Why do smart, curious people keep believing it? I think it's because the truth is almost too big to feel. When someone says you have 90% of untapped power, it sounds hopeful. But when someone says you're already using all of it right now to read this, it sounds ordinary. And your brain, ironically, is wired to ignore the ordinary. The most incredible machine in the known universe is sitting inside your head, doing miracles every second. And it's so good at its job that you don't even notice. That's the real trick. Not that 90% is asleep, but that 100% is awake. And it's so seamless, so quiet, so effortless, that it feels like nothing at all. So the next time someone tells you you're only using 10%, you can smile. Because you know the bigger secret now: you were never running on a fraction. You were running on everything. Every memory you have, every word you understand, every person you love, every dumb joke that makes you laugh, that's 100% firing away all day, every day for free. Anyway, that's the story. We started with a fantasy about unlocking a hidden brain, and we ended somewhere better, realizing the whole thing was already unlocked, already yours, already blazing away, while you weren't even paying attention. There's no secret 90%. There's just you, fully switched on, more powerful than any movie ever gave you credit for. I'm Chio, and I'll see you in the next one.